What happens to a relationship when mental health shows up in the room? When you care deeply about each other, but something internal keeps getting in the way? Welcome to Evolve Your Intimacy with Dr. Stephanie. I'm Dr. Stephanie, licensed professional counselor, certified sex therapist, and clinical sexologist. And this is a special series where we're diving into the real, often unspoken ways mental health disorders impact intimate relationships. Throughout this series, we're going to break down some of the most common mental health challenges, like anxiety, depression, ADHD, trauma, and so much more, and explore what they actually look like inside of a relationship. It's about understanding what's really happening right beneath the surface, so you can stop repeating the same cycles and start building something more intentional. So whether you're the one struggling or you love someone who is, this series is for you. Let me ask you something about how much of what you know about intimacy was actually taught to you. Communication, desire, boundaries, power dynamics. Most people are trying to build deeply connected relationships without ever being given the tools to do it. And that's exactly why I created the workshops at Evolve Your Intimacy. Real conversations, real skills, and real transformation. Whether you're exploring connection, kink, or communication. And if you can't make it live, you can access them anytime online, because better intimacy isn't luck, it's learned. Go to evolveyourintimacy.com and start evolving your intimacy today. You're sitting next to your partner, but it feels like they're a million miles away. The conversations are shorter, the energy is different, the connection that used to feel so easy now feels heavy. You might find yourself wondering, is it me? Did something change? Or are they not showing up anymore? Hi, I'm Dr. Stephanie, and in today's episode, we're talking about depression in relationships, what it really looks like, how it impacts both partners, and how to support someone you love without losing yourself in the process. Depression isn't just sadness. It's disconnection. It's low energy. It's a lack of motivation that can make even the smallest things feel overwhelming, like responding to a text, making a plan, or even holding a conversation. And in relationships, that internal experience doesn't stay internal. It shows up in very real, very noticeable ways. So let's talk about what depression can look like. Depression can look like emotional withdrawal. Right? Your partner feels distant, harder to reach type situations. They communicate less. Their responses are very short, maybe less engaged, fewer check-ins. They have decreased interest in quality time. The things that you used to do together may no longer appeal to them. They have reduced physical or even sexual intimacy, not necessarily from lack of love, but from lack of energy and emotional availability. And this is where it gets really confusing, because from the outside, it can feel like your partner is pulling away from you. It can feel very personal. It can feel like rejection, and it can make you question the relationship. But in reality, they're often pulling away from everything, from friends, from responsibilities, from things they used to enjoy, from even themselves. Depression narrows a person's world. Things that once felt easy now feel heavy. Things that once brought them joy feel meaningless. And emotionally, depression tends to flatten the experience. It reduces emotional range. It makes it harder to feel excitement, connection, desire, even love in the ways that they once did. Not because those feelings are gone, but because they can't access them at this time. It's like the volume has been turned down on everything. So your partner may still care very deeply about you, but they may not have the emotional energy to really express it, initiate connection, or even show up in ways that they used to. And that gap between what they feel and what they show is often where a lot of relationship pain lives, because one person is struggling internally and the other person is trying to make sense about why it feels so distant. Understanding the difference is absolutely key, because when you realize it's not about the lack of love, but a lack of capacity, it changes how you interpret what they are saying. Guys, depression it's real. It's hard to understand. It's something that I struggle with, and I want to talk about how it impacts your intimacy. Because depression can significantly affect intimacy, both emotional and physically. Because intimacy requires presence, energy, and emotional access. And depression directly impacts all three. What this can look like in a relationship for you guys is a lower libido or little to no sex desire, less initiation of physical or emotional closeness, difficulty staying mentally and emotionally present during intimacy, feeling disconnected even in moments when they're supposed to feel close. And sometimes depression can make your body feel heavy, exhausted, even numb. I know for me, my body goes completely numb. So something that once felt so natural and enjoyable to me feels like effort and even pressure. And I just sometimes don't want to. And for the partner, this can feel very personal. You might start to think to yourself, are they even attracted to me anymore? Did I do something wrong? Why don't they want me the way they used to? Those are all real questions, and all of those questions matter. Because when intimacy changes, it often hits at the core of how we feel loved, desired, and connected. But here's a really important reframe. Depression often reduces desire across the board, not just within the relationship. It really impacts energy levels, mood, hormonal balance, emotional engagement. So it's not just that they don't want you, they don't feel desire for much of anything at all. Even things they used to look forward to. There's often a level of disconnection from the body itself. I know for me, when I'm feeling depression, I do not associate with anybody. I retreat. I go into myself. You'll see me just doom scrolling. You'll see me watching the same shows over and over and over because my brain doesn't have to work and I don't really have to do much. I just go numb. I detach. I'm going through all of these motions, but there's no emotion there, in which that makes it really hard sometimes for you to fully engage in intimacy. And I'm talking about this personally. And in some cases, sex can start to feel like it's something they should do rather than something they want to actually do, which adds another layer of pressure and emotional strain in the relationship. So while it may look like rejection on the surface, it's not rejection. It's depletion. It's a nervous system that doesn't have the energy to activate desire. It's a mind that's too heavy to access connection in the same way. And understanding that doesn't erase the hurt, but it does change the meaning. Because when you shift from they don't want me to they're struggling to feel anything right now, you create a space for a different kind of conversation, one that's rooted in compassion, in honesty, and reality. And that's where intimacy, even in this season, can begin to When you love someone who is depressed, your instinct is to automatically help, to motivate them, to encourage them, to pull them out of it. You want them to feel better. You want your relationship to feel like it used to. And in many ways, you're trying to restore something that feels lost. But here's the reality. Depression, it doesn't respond well to pressure. Because what looks like not trying from the outside is often someone already using all of the energy they have just to get through the day. So when you say things like, just try to get out more, you'll feel better if you do something, you just need to push yourself. Even if it's a well-intended comment, it lands as you're not doing enough. You should be doing something different than what you already are right now. You're failing at this. And that can actually deepen feelings of shame, inadequacy, and withdrawal, because depression already comes with an internal voice that is very critical. So, instead of motivating change, pressure often reinforces the very thing you're trying to help pull them out of. So, what does support actually look like? It looks quieter. It looks slower. It looks more intentional. It looks like being present without demanding energy they don't have, sitting with them, being near them, not requiring them to show up in any certain way, offering small, manageable support, not overwhelming them with big solutions, but helping with small steps. Do you want to take a short walk together? Can I sit with you while you do that? Reducing the pressure and not increasing it. Letting them know they don't have to perform, fix, or be better in that moment. Validating their experience without trying to solve it. That's really important because validation sounds like, I can see how heavy this feels for you right now. I know this isn't easy. You don't have to go through this alone. And notice that none of that is trying to fix anything. It's acknowledging reality while still offering connection. So what does this do in your relationship? When you stop trying to fix and start focusing on being more present, something shifts. Your partner may feel less pressure, less shame, more emotional safety. And ironically, that safety is often what creates space for healing to begin, because people don't come out of depression through force. They come out through support, consistency, and feeling like they're not alone in it. Now, this is the part that often goes unspoken, but it's one of the most important parts of this conversation, is navigating that resentment and emotional burnout. If you're the partner of someone with depression, you may start to feel lonely, rejected, frustrated, emotionally exhausted, and sometimes even guilty for feeling that way, because you know your partner is struggling and you know they're not choosing to do this, but that doesn't mean it doesn't affect you. And so over time, you might notice that you're carrying more of the relationship. You're initiating the conversations. You're putting in more effort to connect, managing more of the emotional and sometimes practical responsibilities. You're trying to keep things together while your partner doesn't have the capacity. And at first, it may feel like love, but when the imbalance continues without acknowledgement or support, it starts to feel so heavy. And that's where resentment quietly begins to build. Not because you don't care, but because you're pouring out without being replenished. You're pouring from an empty cup. This is where a lot of people get stuck because part of you is compassionate. Oh, they're going through a lot. I need to be patient. And then the other part of you is human. And you're like, dude, what about me? And if that second voice gets ignored for too long, it doesn't go away. It turns into irritability, emotional distance, disconnection, even shutting down yourself. Hell, this is hard. Supporting someone with depression does not mean sacrificing your own emotional needs. You are allowed to feel frustrated. You are allowed to need that connection. You can want effort and engagement. You can set boundaries about what you can and cannot carry. Take care of your own mental health and emotional health because love should not require self-abandonment. So let's talk about boundaries. Boundaries in this context aren't about punishment. They're about sustainability. They may sound like, I care about you, but I can't carry all of this on my own right now. Or, I need us to find ways to stay connected even in small ways. Or, I'm here to support you, but I also need support. It can even be taking space when you feel overwhelmed, seeking your own support or therapy, not over-functioning to compensate for your partner's depression. Because when you ignore your own needs, burnout is not far behind. And burnout doesn't affect just you, it affects the relationship. Again, it creates distance, it reduces that empathy, and it makes it harder to show up with patience and care. So taking care of yourself isn't selfish. It's necessary. But how? Healthy relationships in the presence of depression require two things at the same time: compassion for your partner and responsibility for yourself. Not one or the other, but both. And that's where a lot of people struggle because it can feel like you have to choose. If you focus on your partner, you may feel like you're abandoning yourself. But if you focus on yourself, you might feel like you're abandoning them. So people often swing to one side. They either overextend, overgive, and lose themselves in the process, or they pull back completely to protect themselves, which can create even more distance. But the real work is in learning how to hold both at the same time. Compassion means recognizing your partner is struggling. Their behavior is being impacted by depression. This isn't about a lack of love or effort. It sounds like, I understand this is hard for you. I know you're doing the best you can right now. It's choosing empathy even when things feel distant. But what does responsibility for yourself look like? At the same time, responsibility also means staying aware of your own emotional needs, not over-functioning to compensate, not abandoning yourself to keep the peace. It sounds like, I care about you, but I also need connection. I can support you, but I can't carry everything alone. It's recognizing that your wellness matters too. This is the balance. You can say, I know you're struggling right now, and also say, and I need to find ways to stay connected. You can offer patience while still setting limits. You can be supportive without becoming responsible for fixing. Because if you lean too far into compassion without boundaries, like I said, you burn out. And if you lean too far into the protection without compassion, your relationship disconnects. But when they're both present, something different happens. There's more honesty. There's more sustainability. There's a mutual understanding, and that's what allows the relationship to survive, not just in spite of depression, but through it. One of the biggest adjustments couples have to make is redefining what intimacy looks like during this season. And so instead of focusing on the performance, frequency, or what it used to be, shift towards a connection, comfort, emotional safety. Also, intimacy doesn't have to start with sex. It can be sitting close to each other, holding hands, lying together without pressure, gentle touch without expectation. This reduces that pressure and creates a space for connection to rebuild naturally. Pressure is the fastest way to shut down intimacy when depression is present. Even like the subtle pressure, like expectations, disappointment, or repeated initiation can be overwhelming to someone already struggling. So it might look like not taking it personally when your partner isn't interested, avoiding those guilt-based responses, creating space where no feels safe, because when pressure is removed, safety increases. And when safety increases, connection has room to grow. Communicate honestly, but gently. This is where that balance matters we talked about. You don't have to ignore your needs, but you also don't approach intimacy from a place of frustration or blame. It can sound like, I miss feeling close to you, and I understand that things feel really heavy right now. That kind of communication holds both truths, your need for connection and their current capacity. Intimacy doesn't have to be an all or nothing. Look for small, consistent ways to stay connected. A hug that lasts a little longer. Sitting together at the end of the day. Physical touch without expecting it to lead somewhere. Those moments matter more than they seem when someone has depression, because they maintain that sense of closeness, and that just speaks volumes sometimes. If you are experiencing it, it's important that you hear this. You are not broken. You are not failing in your relationship. But small efforts towards connection, even when we don't feel like it, can make a huge difference. I'm not talking about forced, not overwhelming, just some small moments of presence. This season may not look like what intimacy used to be, and that can be hard. But it doesn't mean intimacy is gone. It just means it's changing. And when both partners are willing to adjust and communicate and then remove that pressure, intimacy can become something softer, more intentional, and sometimes even a little bit more meaningful. So I want to offer this. Being present with a partner who is depressed can, like I said, feel confusing because you feel the need to have to say the right thing or fix something or even lift their mood, but presence isn't about fixing. It's about how you show up in the moment. So let's make this practical. Here are some real-life examples of what presence can actually look and sound like. When they're quiet or withdrawn, instead of saying, "What's wrong? Why are you being so distant?" Why don't we try, "Hey, I noticed you've been a little quieter today. Just want to let you know I'm here." Or even, "We don't have to talk. I just want to sit with you." That removes that pressure, but it does create the space and closeness. When they say, "I'm just tired," instead of pushing, "Well, you should get up and do something." I hate when people tell me that. Try, "I hear you. Do you want company or do you just want some space?" This gives them the autonomy while they're still offering connection, right? And when your partner seems completely disconnected, instead of taking it personally and saying something like, "You don't even act like you care anymore," try, I miss feeling close to you, but I understand you're going through a lot right now. This communicates your need and your understanding. When they're struggling to engage, instead of expecting energy, like, God, can we just have a normal conversation? Why don't you try, we can keep this real simple. I'm just glad to be here with you. Again, it lowers that emotional demand. Offering support without overwhelming instead of, what can I do? Tell me what you need, which feels like more pressure, what they don't need in this moment. You can say, do you want me just to sit with you or maybe take a short walk together? Give them options that are small and manageable. The small and manageable options are life-changing for me when I'm in the throes of depression. Physical presence without that expectation. So sometimes presence isn't verbal at all. It looks like sitting next to them, holding their hand, being in the same space without needing that conversation. And if you want to verbalize it, just say, hey, I'm right here. It's simple, it's grounded, it's enough. When you feel helpless, instead of trying to fix and say things like, I just want to make this better for you, try, I know I can't fix this, but I care about you and I'm not going anywhere. Like consistency, man, that's life-changing sometimes too. But for yourself, you have to stay regulated. You have to manage your own energy. If you come in anxious or frustrated or overwhelmed, your partner feels that. And sometimes that presence is internal. So sometimes you have to slow your breathing. You have to soften your tone, letting go of needing like a specific outcome, because your calm presence can be more regulating for them than anything you have to say. If you're the one who is struggling with depression, I want to speak directly to you for a moment, because it's easy to feel like you're the problem, like you're letting your partner down, like you're not showing up the way you should. That weight can make everything feel even heavier. So let's just slow this down a minute and name what you're experiencing. You may not have words for it, but even something as simple as, I don't have a lot of energy right now, but I want you to know it's not about you. Or I feel really disconnected lately and I'm trying to understand it too. You don't have to explain everything. Just letting your partner know can reduce a lot of confusion. Reassuring without overextending yourself. Your partner may be feeling a little unsure, even if they understand depression. So you can often offer like little small reassurances. I still care about you, even if I don't show it the same way right now. That doesn't require a lot of energy, but it can go a long way in maintaining that connection, right? Communicating your capacity. It's okay to be honest about what you can and can't give. You might say, I don't have the energy for a long conversation, but I can sit with you. Or I want to connect. I just need to be in a low pressure situation right now. This really helps your partner know where you're at without the guessing games. Staying gently connected. Connection doesn't have to be big or intense. It can be sitting next to your partner, sending a short text, sharing one small thought or feeling. Even the minimal effort towards connection helps maintain that relationship during this hard season. And when intimacy feels completely difficult, emotional or physical intimacy, you can say, I want to be close to you, but I'm not in the place for sex right now. Or can we just be close without any pressure? This allows you again to stay connected without forcing something your body isn't ready for. And this is a big one, letting go of the guilt. You may feel like you are not enough, you're failing your partner, you're damaging the relationship, but depression is something you're experiencing. It's not something you are. And guilt doesn't create change. It adds more weight. So take that responsibility without shame. At the same time, your mental health is yours to care for. You may seek therapy. You may look for support groups. You may take small steps towards managing your depression, but not because your partner is demanding it, because you deserve it too. You don't have to be perfect in the relationship. You don't have to show up 100% of the time, but staying honest, staying strong, staying connected, and taking small steps toward your own healing, that's what helps your relationship stay grounded even when things feel so heavy. And most importantly, you are not too much. You are not alone in this. As we close today's episode, here's something I want you to carry with you this week. Pay attention to where you might feel overextended or maybe pulling away, and ask yourself, Am I showing compassion for my partner while taking care of myself? Because both matter. If you're the partner supporting someone with depression, your practice this week is to choose one small boundary that protects your energy. It might sound like, I'm going to take some time for me today. I need a moment to recharge. I'll come back to this conversation. This is not a rejection, but sustainability. And if you're the one experiencing depression, your takeaway is this. Notice one small way you can stay gently connected. Not something big, not something overwhelming, something simple like sending a text message, sitting next to your partner, sharing an honest feeling, because connection doesn't have to be intense to be meaningful. It just has to be consistent. This week isn't about fixing depression. It's about shifting how you show up within it, because small intentional changes on both sides are what create space for connection even when things feel so heavy. If this episode resonated with you, don't just sit with it, use it. Take one piece from today and bring it into your relationship this week, because insight without action doesn't create change. Intentional behavior does. If you want deeper support, tools, and structured guidance, you can explore my workshops and relationship resources at evolveyourintimacy.com. And if this episode helped you feel seen, understood, or gave you the language for something you couldn't quite explain, share it with your partner. Sometimes the most powerful way to start a conversation is not by finding the perfect words, but by pressing play. And if you haven't already, make sure you follow the podcast and leave a review. It helps more people find this work and start changing the way they show up in their relationships. Until next week, stay connected, stay curious, and stay intentional about the way you show up in your most intimate relationships.